You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
I think it was a disgraceful performance, and I think it should never be permitted to happen again.
That is very good.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, or welcome to the Cricket Podcast. The IPL is back, we're excited about that. Chennai Super Kings in the first match of Phase 2 have taken down my Mumbai Indians. I'm distraught. I'm also incredibly angry at Sky Sports. We're going to get into all of that, and Virat Kohli's fucking retired. Or handed in the captaincy. That'll be a YouTube strike for swearing too early in the podcast there. It's all going off. It's all kicking off. We're excited. I'm here with Ross Legg. Ross Legg, how are you doing?
I'm great, thanks, mate. And it's nice to be back and reunited with Dan Weston.
Yeah. And
we're kind of like ships in the night. We are. if I'm not on the pod, then you're on it. If you're on the pod, I'm not on it.
I thought you were avoiding me, Ross.
Dan, Dan, you're back after the IPL previews. How you getting on? Are you enjoying this Sunday?
I've just woken up after Tiwary's innings.
Great stuff. Ross, before we get into everything, we have some sponsor messages and such that we read out.
Yep, we do indeed. Yep. Yeah, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching this. You should press like on this video if you're watching this. Follow us on any podcast platform that you're listening to us on as well, because we realise that we are not just a YouTube show. And you should follow us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And if you need new kit for next season, it's always a nice time to buy it now. Go to Woodstock and we'll use code TCP25 and you'll get 25% off.
Yeah, awesome. And we're on Patreon. Did you say Patreon, Ross?
I did
not. No, you didn't. Yeah, well, we've had a flurry of Patreons. We're up to 16 Patreons, which is good. If you're a Patreon, you get exclusive question asking access. You get a little bit of early access. So if you were a Patreon, you'll have seen all of our IPL previews a little bit earlier than the general population. So head over there, patreon.com/The Cricket Pod. Ross, Chennai Super Kings, they beat Mumbai Indians. I'm too sad to describe the game myself.
Yep.
Can you do the honours?
Yes, I can indeed. So as the IPL returned, it took CSK 6 overs and 5 wickets to realise they were actually playing cricket again. As the Mumbai Indian Pacers decimated their top order for a paltry 24 runs off of the opening 6 overs. Unfortunately, the usually unflappable Kieran Pollard decided mercy was the order of the day and let CSK off the chopping block with some, let's be honest, some absolutely terrible captaincy. Gaikwad hit his 4th consecutive 50 in the UAE and showed the maturity expected from his failed batting partners around him, whilst champion Bravo joined the party to complete a remarkable comeback and salvage job for CSK as they posted a very competitive 156. Mumbai were without Rohit, but they should have had enough talent to make this a much closer game of it. However, their batting lineup lacked fluency. They couldn't find a way to hit boundaries off of the medium paces. And the likes of Bravo and Deepak Chahar dried everything up. And then Dan, as you said, Tiwary saw the opportunity for a red inker and was the only man to hit more than 17 runs for the Mumbai Indians. So CSK eventually ran out deserved winners. And what can we say? I mean, every single good thing about CSK, just like the commentators did, this was Dhoni's win, wasn't it? It was all Dhoni. So there we go.
So is that where we're going to start, Ross? I think you've made your thoughts on this quite clear. You think that Pollard has cost Mumbai Indians this match. And you maybe don't think that Dhoni has won the match for CSK, but you certainly think that there was a blown chance by Pollard. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more? Because we're going to make that the narrative of the show.
Yeah, so I think, Dan, you've said it a couple of times on the show around what the influence is of a captain in a T20 game, and actually how actually it's probably relatively neutral at the end of the day. Today, I thought it was you saw someone completely lose it by their decision making, and I thought this was the case where when a team is 24 for 5, because I mean they're pretty much there because Rayudu, I think he's got a broken arm from an Adam Milne bumper, which is a pretty nasty blow, really. I kind of thought that in that situation, when you've got Adam Milne, you've got Bumrah, you've got Bolt, don't Who is saying, yeah, let's go to Krunal Pandya? No, I'm not saying you need to be like a brilliant captain to win it, but there is a bit in those overs where if I'm Gaikwad and if I'm Jadeja, the last people I want to face is Bumrah, the best T20 bowler in the world. I'll take Krunal Pandya every single day of the week. And I just kind of thought, in that moment, I thought it just let it slip. And it kind of, the classic thing that England are used to when we're watching our test team play, there was just that bit where the captain just let the game drift. And in a T20 match, they should have been down and out. They should have gone for the kill. And I reckon they would have got them out in 12 or 13 overs. I think they wouldn't have had enough about them. And I think that decision-making, and I rarely agree with Kevin Peterson, but some of the field placings were poor. And they just, let them off the hook, I think.
Well,
that's in comparison. Yeah,
let's look at the scorecard quickly, because if CSK, they were 7 for 3, which isn't great. 24 for 4, and Ryadu's also off with an injury, so they're effectively 24 for 5 at that point, aren't they? Looks like the game's over. Dan, you said off air that you actually went and had a little sleep.
But Jadeja was boring me as well, to be honest with you.
But so the recovery that you're sort of talking about, Ross, they get up to 105 for 5, which is a bit like 105 for 6 after 16.4 overs. I will be honest, I was having problems with the Sky broadcast, so I don't know exactly what order. We'll get to that in a second. I don't know exactly what order Krunal Pandya bowled in, but was Krunal Pandya bowling at the death or something, Ross?
No, it was just those middle overs where just, I think it was probably 9 and 11, maybe, if my memory serves me correctly.
Okay.
And at that point, they just didn't need to do that. They could have wrapped the game up. And yet CSK's game plan, and actually quite a few of the other IPL's game plan, is to take it deep, right? They kind of look to retain their wickets. Dan, I think in your Substack that I read this morning, there was around like IPL teams look to retain their wickets and place quite a high value on those and then explode at the end.
Yep.
CSK are led by Mahendra Singh Dhoni, whose whole thing is take it deep. And Kieran Pollard just played straight into that strategy. And there's no way they should have got nearly 160 runs. So it was a good batting deck. But when they're, as you say, Jack, 5 wickets down after the power play, they should never be getting anywhere close to that total.
Dan, I just want to ask you a couple of questions here then. Because, Krunal Pandya's bowled and he's been hit for 27 runs in 2 overs, which in the scheme of the game's pretty poor. Yeah. Should they have bowled somebody else? I mean, Pollard's he's bowled 2. You rarely see Pollard bowl more than 2. What was the theoretical other option here for Mumbai, or is it a case of them bowling Pandya at the wrong time?
No, actually, I think on a different side of things. So I've made some notes here. I one of my primary notes was pretty similar to what Ross just said. Could they have gone for the kill earlier rather than bowling soft overs from Pollard and Krunal? The other thing that I will say about Mumbai is that obviously we didn't see their best 11 today. It was best 11 mixed with a side Mushtaq Ali flavour. It reminded me a bit of finals day yesterday, where I'm used to watching 100 and then we have to watch a couple of nerdlers in finals day instead. We don't really get that in 100. So yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of likes in the comments for that particular comment. I think that their main issue generally, even in the best circumstances, is their 5th and 6th bowler, particularly when Hardik isn't playing or Hardik isn't bowling. So they miss that massive balance that he brings. And this is quite a problem with the Indian player pool generally. And I think we might end up seeing this play out a little bit like this in the World Cup, is that they lack top 6 batters who bowl, which is a real problem for team balance. And Hardik does give them that balance, and they missed that today. Having to find 4 overs out of Pollard and Krunal is an obvious weak point, and I think that was probably where CSK got back in the game. But as Ross said, they could have gone for the jugular and got another over out of Bumrah at least early doors.
Yeah, I think they could have given Kishan a bowl as well. No, it is interesting.
I tell you what, they should have given Kishan the gloves. Quinton de Kock may as well have be wicket keeping in oven gloves. He was absolutely dreadful today.
Yeah, no, I've seen. I think a couple of people in the comments have pointed to that. Just a quick one for people in there. Vic and Uma, thank you for your super chats. I'm not really sure what currency PLN is, but we got 27 of them, so thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So yeah,
it's worth a £5.
Oh, well.
Thank you very much.
There we are.
It's going to pay for my new hat.
It's about a third of the cost of one of these shirts as well. So on the flip side, Ross, I think you've explained there why Pollard might not have been very good. I have to say though, listening to the commentators and the way they harp on about how good Dhoni is, I was watching today and I thought that they were spot on. I thought Dhoni did have a really good game as a captain, and the more I look into how good or not Dhoni is as a T20 captain, the more I think there might actually be something to the myth, if you like. I know quite often we're a little bit derisive towards captains, and we say they maybe don't make a huge difference, but if you look at Dhoni's decision making, just taking this match as a case in point, everything he does is what as an informed observer feels like the right thing to do. For example, like getting 3 overs out of Moeen Ali today, bowling a lot when Mumbai had their left-hand combination at the crease, and what was it, 3 overs? I know he went for 5.33 and over. So what's that? 16 runs. That is good captaincy. Dan, I don't know. I mean, am I looking a bit too much into this? I think you've said before this is just what every captain should be doing. But it isn't what every captain does do. Surely we should give Dhoni some credit here.
He's such a strange one because I think I said when we were on the pod the other day, we're almost giving him credit for achieving the minimum standard expected of a captain. But the problem is that no captain adheres to that minimum standard. So it basically makes them look really good. And of course, I think Ross said it earlier as well. I've said it many times. Captains, not 90% of them are pretty much neutral. 5% of them are really good and 5% of them are really bad. He's in the 5% that are really good, but that's because the general standard of captaincy is just so bad anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sorts that out. I think the other thing, that I noticed today, I don't think he took a catch today, did he, Jadeja? But Jadeja's got like double the number of catches of anyone else in the IPL. Now, I know that's not necessarily because of good captaincy. Part of that's because Jadeja's a good fielder. But there must be something in there, I think, about where Jadeja is being placed and how they use him as like a priority position fielder and get him in the right place so often. It's something I want to look into in a little bit more detail. But I was listening along to the commentary, and after the Ishan Kishan wicket, Ross, I think you were saying it was hilarious. The commentators, they were saying that Deepak Chahar should be celebrating with Dhoni or not the bloke who took the catch.
Literally, Suresh Raina is in someone's arms. You shouldn't be celebrating with him. He should be going over to Dhoni. That is Dhoni's wicket. It's just like the guys just give him a dolly at cover.
But it's still, that might be taking it a little bit too far. But the decision making around when people bowl and why they bowl it is pretty spot on. And Dan, I did have one question coming into this match, or looking at the squads, that I wanted to ask you about. CSK have apparently dropped Curran. It's not resting him because he's coming from a bubble or something like that. Apparently Sam Curran has been dropped and they've gone with Hazelwood. Is that a good decision?
Interesting, because I heard that Sam hadn't done his 6 days quarantine. He turned up late.
This is where you get like two different stories.
But I'm not a massive buyer of Hazelwood at IPL level. Another of my notes that I've got in this match is that because you have Hazelwood and Chahar, who are basically both power play specialists, you're forced to go pretty much all 6 within the power play, or 5 out of 6, the first 5 out of 6 that did stay in power play. Now, that stops you going for match-up options like, for example, Moeen Ali against De Kock and Amalpreet Singh. because Amnulpreet Singh is like, he's going to be nervous as anything on his this match, first game for Mumbai, whatever. He's not going to go and tee off against Moeen Ali, even if it's a good match in the first over. But de Kock's got a poor record against Moeen Ali, and he's got a reasonably poor record against right-arm off spinners in general. So Mo is a great option to open the bowling, but they can't do that because they're constraining themselves by having these two power play specialists that you can't get output in other phases so much from. So you've got no choice but to use them. And I think that we can talk about MI as well. That's the problem with Trent Bolt. He's great in the power play. You get 3 good overs out of him in the power play, but getting that 4th over out of him, as what I found out at the cost of death today, is often rather problematic. And that's often the problem with power play specialists.
I thought he should have bowled 4 straight through.
Good done,
today was that option for him just to be like, do you know what, bowl your 4.
Yeah, and go 2 on 2 at Bumrah at the death, and you're good with that, yeah.
I mean, I almost sort of think just bowl Bumrah 4 overs at the end of the game. I know it's a bit one-dimensional, but yeah, just like go on then, do something. To some extent, fellas, we've not talked about man of the moment, have we? Here,
Shardul Thakur.
Shardul Thakur, yeah, 1 run from 1 ball. He's played a vital role in getting CSK up to that important time. No, I'm talking about Ruturaj Gaikwad. His second season in the IPL, it's going pretty well so far, Dan. I think we had a conversation about how he may have been a bit overrated last year and didn't have a particularly high boundary percentage. This year, that's improved. His strike rate's up at 135, and today, after the game, Pollard was sort of talking about what happened in these kind of lowish scoring T20 matches. One of the things that you want is a top order player to bat through, take it deep, and make sure that you post a score. Because if everything else is falling around them, if one top order player bats through and gets 80, probably you'll end up with something that you might be able to defend. He absolutely did that today. I thought it was an innings that showed like the full range that he had, and I was quite impressed by it, Dan.
Yeah, I was too, and I think that it's notable. We talked about his boundary hitting in the 2020 season. He hit 13%, which was the second worst of any batter. But I think it was 150 balls plus in that comp, with the worst being Kohli, who hit 9 point something. We'll talk about Kohli a bit later on. And then this year, he's actually running at just over 20%. So that's a massive increase in his intent. And so that's hugely positive for his development. He's probably a bit older than people think, though. I think he turns 25 in January, so maybe he's a little bit older than people think. But yeah, it's certainly really positive for him.
Yeah, no, and just for reference for people at home, was it about 18%? Quite good if you're when we talk about boundary percentage. And the reason we talk about it is because there's a huge link between that and sustainable strike rate, basically. If you hit lots of boundaries, that's a good indicator that you'll be able to continue to score at a particularly quick rate. Ross, did you enjoy Ruturaj Gaikwad?
I especially enjoyed him when he swept Bumrah for 6.
Yes.
That was a phenomenal job. And that was what I really liked about this. And Dan, you kind of talk about him developing kind of that boundary side of the game. Like, he clearly has his game as well. Quite a lot of younger cricketers, regardless if he's 24, 25. I still think that is actually quite young for an IPL player opening up. But actually, he seems to know his game quite well, knows where his scoring shots are, and actually forces them to bowl into that area. When he got a little bit tied down was when he started trying to play a couple of ramp shots and a couple of flicks around the corner. He just couldn't do it. Like, it just wasn't part of his repertoire. And actually, he went back to go, do you know what? I'm going to smash it through cover and I'm going to look to sweep as much as possible. And I just quite liked that maturity on that.
Yeah. That's Gaikwad. At the other end, right at the death, we should probably talk about another potential match winner. I love these little innings where somebody comes in, just smashes a bazillion runs off like 8 balls. And then, in the score sheet, people will be like, Gaikwad 88, that's very good, and someone else got 20. That Bravo knock, though, it basically moved or shifted the dynamic of the game from a situation where Mumbai would be virtually... something would have to go terribly wrong for them to not win, to something that was probably more like a 60-40 in Mumbai's favour. Dan, how did you rate it?
Yeah, I love them cameos as well. I think I think we spoke the other day about Somerset in the Blast this year in one of their games. They had like four guys who had innings like this, and they end up posting over 200. This stuff's massive. It doesn't matter how you score how many people score the runs. It just matters that people do it at a high tempo, and those type of innings as well. I mean, you look at CSK, 24 effectively for 5 at the end of the power play. They ended up with 11 fours and 7 sixes with 18 boundaries, which isn't great. But then when you hit 7 sixes as well, it's not a disaster. And that cameo from Bravo really upped in terms of their boundary runs, which was necessary and probably actually the difference in the teams in the end, or one of the big differences.
Yeah, no, that's sort of the way. I mean, like looking at the score sheet, that's how I would read that. I think that if they don't get, say he gets 10 off 8 balls, or whatever the standard expected outcome from a batter in his position is, 12 maybe. Yeah. Then Mumbai are chasing 140, which is 7 and over. They can virtually block out the power play, eliminate the possibility of Deepak Chahar doing anything, and knock the runs off. Probably
turns into a match winner rather than a match loser.
Well, yeah. No, that's exactly what happens. Do we want to talk about Tiwary's snooze-a-thon?
Yeah.
We don't have to. We can move on.
I wish I'd fallen asleep during that rather than Jadeja innings earlier. Honestly, I'm not sure I've ever seen a worse 50. Honestly, in terms of the match, it was awful. I thought. I didn't like the last 5 overs. I don't think I saw him attempt one aerial shot. It was as if he was just playing for a red inca, or like the Mumbai were just trying to go for the not disastrous net run rate. It was weird, but then I've gone through his numbers, and despite being a pretty big unit, he actually doesn't really hit sixes. He from 2016 onwards in the IPL, he strikes before today 2.65% sixes. That's not good. He's had IPL seasons where he struck at 100, 112, 103. So this guy is not a hitter, and it makes me think why Mumbai really had him to start with, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Just a quick note. I think we're going to move on to the other big news, unless anyone's. We'll do it if anyone's got anything else about this game. But there is some other big news. Just a quick note. Right now, there are 250-ish people watching, concurrent viewers. We're on the road to 10k subs. That's our ambition for. We said the end of the IPL. That's not going to happen, is it? Yeah. But it might. Who knows? We need 34 more subscribers to get to 8,000, which is the first little step. If the people out there right now click subscribe, I reckon we can do it in the next 10 seconds. I'm not going to be able to verify that in any way, but I think you can do it for us. So give us a hand. And for the people in the chat who are wondering, yes, this is a Mumbai Indians authentic jersey, £12 from eBay. Fellas, anything else from this game that you thought? Yeah.
I guess it's part of the Tiwary thing, but it's part of this general thing with Indian cricket, IPL in general. Why do these teams just try and take everything as deep as they possibly can? It's utterly pathetic. It's like you get to you need 15 or 16 and over. Now, all right, I might have a little go now. And it's all because like a couple of teams got away with it a couple of years ago. There was one game in Sharjah last year that Rajasthan got about 70 off the last 4 overs. Now everyone's like, oh, that's a good idea. We'll do that. And it's this horrible, horrible, horrible strategy. And actually, this whole match today, I mean, Dhoni was better than Pollard. In terms of the strategy, I don't think either team got their strategies particularly well. It was honestly, it was watching a heads-up poker match between two people who'd barely played the game before. I was so unimpressed with it, I've got to tell you.
Yeah. You know what I was impressed by as well? The confusion between Bravo and Dhoni when that catch got dropped. It basically went straight to Bravo. Like he had to walk 4 yards in from the boundary, and he could have taken it that way, or Australian style. And instead, old man Dhoni's chugging out to try and get there with his camouflage gloves. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe the ball went up in the air. he went to put his gloves up to catch the ball, but they were camouflaged, so he couldn't gauge exactly where they were. And the ball drops. And then he does that classic thing that happens mainly in amateur cricket, where he's just like, your fault, launches the ball back in aimlessly.
You know what, right? I reckon if there's a wicket on the next ball, it would have still been called captaincy genius. On purpose.
We had a few questions. We'll do the Patreon ones now, then we'll do Kohli, then we'll do whatever else has come up. So Sapta Garish, who is in the UAE and is planning to go to a couple of these IPL matches, so that's pretty good. He says it's extremely early days in this stage of the IPL, but it looks like Dubai seems like it'll be a ground where 150 to 170 is a pretty good score. And it also looks like a more spin-driven middle-over strategy, or bowlers with a slower ball will do well there. Gaikwad played well today. Dan, I think we'd probably all agree with that. It didn't look like the easiest pitch in the world to bat on. I thought it wasn't necessarily a bad wicket, but I don't know. Ross, what did you think?
I thought it was absolutely fine. I thought if I was a batsman, I'd be going, this is the kind of deck I want to play on most of the time, really. They were saying when Moeen Ali got out, how has he managed to do that? And they were going, it must have been too paced, must have stopped in the pitch, all that kind of stuff. I just think actually the CSK batsmen at the top of the order played some really poor shots to get out. Like Faf du Plessis managed to get out at short third man, chasing a rank wide one by Trent Bolt, and everyone was just I just didn't really understand what they were doing at the top. And it was lucky for them that Gaikwad actually had his head screwed on.
Yeah, and he also says, as an ardent and uber loyal RCB fan, Dan, you'll know how that feels. I have watched several horrendous auction decisions that have left me as an average skilled, albeit uber passionate cricket fan, scratching my head in bewilderment. A quick question to Dan. If you were to be in charge of being on that auction table during the IPL mega auction, which team would you rather represent?
I'd like to be one of the two new teams.
Oh, okay.
We don't have to deal with other people's mistakes.
That's a good answer. That's from Patreon. Patreon.com/thecricketpod if you want us to read out your stuff and answer your questions. Do we say we go to Kohli next?
Oh no, still one more thing on Mahendra Singh Dhoni. So Mahendra Singh Dhoni, I'm not going to let him get away with this. So what I found,
I thought he was good. Why are we all piling? Why are you piling in on him?
Because it's about balance, isn't it? Which shows like this. It's about balance. At the start of this IPL, we were criticising Dhoni for hiding himself away in the batting lineup. Do you remember that he was hiding himself at kind of like number 8? Today, why didn't he hide himself down the order again? It was one of those bits that's like, why today did he decide to kind of change what his approach was? And I found it, I just wanted to kind of put it to you guys there of going, if Dhoni is going to be almost like a pseudo specialist captain in a T20 side,
the Mike Brearley.
The Mike Brearley approach. Like, should he should have been coming in at the end there. I mean, they were fortunate that Bravo was the one who kind of went and hit the runs. Or, Dan, could you see Dhoni batting at kind of 6, just moving forward, and that should be his position in this team?
Okay, so my take on it is that Dhoni is quite aware that he's a much better hitter against pace than he is against spin. Now, I think he came in the power play, Milne and Bolt were bowling, and then they still had Bumrah to bowl as well. Pollard was going to have to do some lifting as well at some stage, and he just thought, right, I may as well just get in against the pacers now, and that's absolutely fine. I think it's like I say, I don't think he's hiding himself down the order just as a rule. I think he's doing it because he just doesn't want to face spin if he could possibly avoid it. Right. And I think he thought that he was going to face a lot of pace today, and he was probably right, to be fair.
Fair.
Yeah, that's because he's a genius, and he works these things out. Ross, Virat Kohli. Do you want to summarise that?
Well, he said because of his workload that he needed to step down from the India T20 captaincy, and there's all kinds of different rumours around who's going to get it. Will it be Rishabh Pant? Will it be Rohit Sharma? Who knows? Will it be KL Rahul? No, that would be funny. But he also has stepped down from RCB, Dan, so that the king of the anchors, which is Virat Kohli, is going to step down after this season. I mean, I genuinely thought he could be captain of that side until he's like 50.
I thought he'd at least overtake like Dhoni for most IPL games captained or something like that. Do you want to hear the statement and then we'll talk about it? Because I can read it out. Hello everyone. Imagine I'm Virat Kohli here. The whole RCB family, the amazing fans of Bangalore, And to all those who have supported us, I have an announcement to make. I spoke to the management this evening. It was something that was in my mind for a while.
I've bought a Safari, which is the best hatchback you could possibly get, and it's white gold gracefulness. No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's the gold standard for safety. This will be my last IPL as captain of RCB. I'll continue to be an RCB player till my last IPL game. I thank all the RCB fans for believing in me and supporting me. I want to be able to be committed to the responsibilities that I am fulfilling, and I felt I needed the space to be fresh, to regroup, and to be absolutely clear in how I want to move forward. It's been a great journey of 9 years with moments of joy and frustration, happiness and sadness. It's mainly frustration and sadness, isn't it? It didn't really need to say joy and happiness because that's not necessarily true. So Kohli, he will be stepping down potentially. If RCB don't pull off the IPL this year, as a captain who didn't win the IPL. Ross, I was quite surprised by this. The same as you. I thought that Kohli would be a mainstay of that franchise's leadership group, more or less until he decided to hang up the spikes.
Yeah, I think he's going to take up one of those special team mentor roles that they like so much, and he'll go kind of do that. To be fair, you got to respect these kind of things, and so at some point he might take the captaincy back. You never know; it could just be one of those things which, do you know what, the workload's too much. I need to actually chill, see what's going on, where I want to take my career, etc. Like, he's already been the best cricketer in the world for a little while. Maybe he wants to figure out if he can play T20 till he's 45, and he's got to learn how to hit more sixes at the start of his innings. Who knows? But I do, Dan. When it comes to the captaincy bit, we've kind of said already, it's kind of net neutral typically on this kind of stuff. But I mean, Kohli is Indian cricket right now, right? He's Mr. Cricket pretty much, and it's I think it's an interesting decision. Could be a mind game thing. Could be a bit of game. Like he's done it for the World Cup, so he's just like, well, I want to go out on a high on that one. So all of his team are going to be playing for Virat Kohli to lift that trophy, just like the Argentinians do with Messi. Maybe he's thought, oh, do you know what? If it's going to work for my Indian team, is it going to work for RCB? He could end up with 2 crowns. You never know.
Then people want him to carry on, though, won't they? They'll be like 4 more years.
What are you quitting for now? I just like the fact that presumably his final act as captain is to retain himself. Because he's going to play for RCB until he stops playing cricket. But either he's retained himself or he's quitting after this IPL.
Maybe that's it. Maybe this is it for the Kohli trade. Vic London the
best, obviously. So maybe he just IPL over.
Vic London as a super chat says terrible Indian accent, Jack. I thought it was pretty good, to be honest. Do you know what I think it might be? I reckon that I think Kohli's somebody who definitely, at this point in his career, is thinking about legacy and about framing himself as one of the greatest of all time. Certainly one of the greatest Indian batters of all time. And I think there's a potential problem with that, in that the way Kohli perceives greatness is inextricably linked to performance in Test cricket, and he hasn't actually performed in Test cricket for about 2 years now. So I do sort of wonder whether the resignation of the Indian T20 captaincy is paving a way to basically stepping back from that format, except for maybe major bilateral series or World Cups or whatever. But also, with the IPL, maybe kind of a shift of direction away from having to be this guy that has to be a format king, and towards being somebody that continues to dominate ODIs and gets their verve back in Test cricket. Because I think, and Kohli basically talks about this, doesn't he? He says it all the time, how he thinks Test cricket is the pinnacle of the game, and at the moment, Virat Kohli is not at the pinnacle of the format that he thinks is the pinnacle, and for a player who's well capable of dominating, I do wonder whether that's part of the reason here. I don't know. It's obviously wild speculation.
We're saying that he's going to quit the IPL and play Ranji Trophy instead.
Probably, mate. Yeah, I think so. I think we can expect that in the next few weeks. He might take over captaincy of one of the Ranji Trophy teams. I think he'll carry on playing IPL because why wouldn't he? He still, can fulfil a role. It's not the main role that you need necessarily, but of those anchor type guys, he's still a pretty good anchor.
Pretty bad value at the market price though.
Yeah, 100%. What he does is not exceptionally better than the other anchors, and there are far scarcer skills in Indian cricket that people or franchises should probably pay a lot more for. He'll continue to cash that check. I'm not saying that this is there's no financial considerations in here at all, but I do think he probably is thinking about where he falls on the scale of greatness, and if T20
alternatively,
cricket,
Jack. Yeah. Alternatively, Ravi Shastri's not signed a new contract yet. Could we be seeing the first player manager of Test cricket?
Ooh.
Now that
so you think he's just freeing up his schedule so that he can? I hope so. You know what? I hope so. I've heard Anil Kumble might be coming back, and they didn't get on at the last when Anil.
Incredible record at Kings 11.
When they were last together, they played a whole ICC. I think it was the Champions Trophy 2017, maybe. They went an entire tournament without saying anything to each other. The captain and the coach just were like, "We're not going to talk." That's tenable. That's something that can last. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else. What's his captaincy legacy at RCB? Do either of you have a view on that?
It's pretty poor, I think, for RCB. Him not the fact that he's not won it, I think, is a huge issue for him. But they're not going to have a better chance to win it now. I don't think. I think it's theirs for the taking. And Dan, listening to the preview shows that you did with Jack and Max, they've got good replacements. They've got a good approach to playing T20 at the moment, and I think they've got the players to win it. So it could be going off into the distance with a trophy, I think.
Here's a question for you boys on the subject of Kohli. Now, Wikipedia. Now we know that we can't always trust Wikipedia because last week it's
we do know that
a 35-year-old all-rounder. It has Virat Kohli's salary at 17 crore, right? Now, in a hypothetical world, if Virat Kohli was released by RCB, how much would he go for in your mega auction?
That's a pretty tough one, isn't it? So there is a commercial consideration in here as well. I think in terms of, we can talk about this in a moment, but Virat Kohli's a marketable guy. I've watched a lot of Hindi adverts today, and the ones that I paid attention to featured Virat Kohli. So I don't know. In cricketing terms,
well, let's go cricketing terms to start with.
7 crore. I don't think.
How much did Manish Pandey go for last time?
9.
Yeah, whatever Manish Pandey's going for, add 1 crore, and then that's where Kohli.
So Manish Pandey might go for 2 crore next auction and say he's worth 3.
I don't know. He's definitely worth 3, isn't he? He's definitely worth more than 3. I don't know. He's probably about 7. I think something like that.
That's fair. Yeah, probably about that. Yeah.
I think he is. If you're a team, I don't know, to be honest, whether the Chinnaswamy Stadium is the place that you'd want Virat Kohli playing half the games, or as your star batsman at home. I think if you were playing in a slightly trickier place to play, and you wanted somebody who could provide stability, could provide reasonable strike rate, it's not amazing, but it's not torpedoing your team. Then I think he can offer that, and he could probably offer it for about 7 crore. He's quite similar to KL Rahul, isn't he? He's in that bracket of player. Like they have a role. They should be in the IPL. They're quite good. They're just frustrating because it's like you've got all the talent in the world, but you're playing the game the wrong way. Can we get into? We're up to 38 minutes. Can we just talk a little bit, just for catharticism? About Sky Sports fuck up today.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do
Ross, because this is, if anyone's watching from India here, we've got 338 people. Before we get into this quite esoteric broadcasting problem that we encounter today, we're on the road to 10,000 YouTube subscribers We were up to 7,965 when I last looked. Hit subscribe, get us past the magical 8,000 mark, and then we only need 25% more than we've got to to make it to 10k. Hit subscribe now, hit like. Ross, Sky Sports, what a fucking disaster.
Yeah, it's like the predominant channel, the provider for sport in the UK, and they've got Sky Sports Cricket as a channel. And the England women were playing today against New Zealand. I think New Zealand have beaten them. And they've got also about another 50 channels. And what they decided, instead of going...
That's being conservative.
Yeah. I mean, 50 other sports channels, not the 1,000 they've got on the thing. And instead of... There's even one called Sky Sports Mix. And they just, for some reason, decided, well, we've paid all this money for the IPL rights. No one else has got them, so we're just not going to play it.
Yeah. So basically, we were confronted with a situation about 3 o'clock today where the broadcaster of the IPL in the UK just was not showing the IPL to broadcast like random other sports. Like on the Mix channel, it was like highlights of NFL games from last year. It wasn't even. They didn't even show last week's NFL games. They were showing last season's. What a great week 2 we had in 2020 in the NFL. It was like, what are you fucking doing? It did give us the opportunity though, Ross. I mean, I'm guessing. I mean, Dan, you were all right. You have a TV.
Well, yes and no.
Oh, okay, tell us.
Okay, so first of all, the red button didn't work when it said it was going at 10 to 3.
Oh, so wait, they had the red. They put it on the red button. It didn't actually
work. Yeah, and then and eventually it did work, and I watched the CSK, and then at half time it came Mumbai Indians coming back quickly, and then because there's rain in the women's match, they switched it to 4:04 Sky Sports Cricket without any notice at all on the red button. Didn't show it on the red button, even though it was on 4:04. And then at 5:15, when the women's match started again, Mark Butcher came on the TV and said, "Oh, the IPL's now on the red button." Except the red button didn't work for the next 3 overs, and I missed Quinn de Kock's wicket. But that was nothing compared to the strife that my wife went through, who was on holiday in Greece, desperate to watch her boys Mumbai play, and she couldn't watch it because there's no way of watching red button matches on Sky Go. And then I reckon on the Sky Sports app, but that didn't work either. And it was really weird because like it was almost as like they've got like scorecards and everything, like latest news from all these different sports and stuff, and there's nothing from the IPL. It was like it didn't exist. It was like they were in like denial mode that there was even a match on in the IPL today. It was so bizarre.
It was like retribution for India going home from that Test series and costing Sky a little bit of loot. So we're just not going to play any IPL.
After Sky Sports an ardent Test fan.
What was particularly annoying, because I tuned in slightly after the beginning of the game because I was playing football this afternoon, and I could only get the game in full Hindi. So Hindi commentary, Hindi on the chyron at the bottom, Hindi on the scorecard. I had no fucking idea who was batting, who was bowling. So I had to have like a separate screen up with like the Google scorecards to actually follow the game in terms of who was doing what. However, I did learn about these things. The SBI mutual fund, that's good. Net medicine. Now that sounds top. Based on the advert, it sounds like you just go on the internet and order
whatever you like.
Whatever you like. Morphine, yeah. Magic masala noodles. Yeah.
Okay. This is free advertising for them. We should be charging for this.
Yeah, I would. Magic masala noodles. I'd tell you what. I'd have a pack of magic masala noodles. And I also saw Glenn Maxwell. There's a weird Shikhar Dhawan advert, and maybe someone can explain what's actually going in this. Where Shikhar Dhawan is hanging washing on a rooftop, and then at the end it's like Dream 11, play fantasy cricket. So yeah, it's a total fucking joke. Really annoying.
Maybe he has Washington Sundar in his Dream 11 team.
Nice to know Max is here.
I did notice one other thing as well. In the Hindi commentary, there are obviously some phrases from cricket or whatever that are English phrases, and they say them in English. So it'll be all in Hindi, and then it'll go like MS Dhoni attacking captaincy, and I've got that written down in quotes. So even on the Hindi commentary, it's still the line. Ross, what were you going to say? We should wrap this up pretty soon.
That Lindsay Weston is in the live chat and is ultimately saying that she paid for the VPN and then just said it was wank. So I mean, what a way with words. Well done, Lindsay.
Good work. I'll have a quick look at the Twitter. We'll run through these pretty quickly. Nakul Pandey, who is on the show sometimes, asks, at the halfway point, CSK and Delhi Capitals are the only two teams with a positive net run rate. Have they really been that dominant over the rest? Because it doesn't feel like that. What do you think, fellas?
I don't think so.
No, I think it's we talked about this a little bit. Shikhar Dhawan and Shaw have scored like 60% of the runs for Delhi. So there's a little bit of a good form in quotes effect happening there that two-set batsmen have seen batted basically most of the time they've been playing. CSK I actually think are pretty good though. I've been and continue to be quite impressed by their batting and their bowling and obviously their captaincy. Balls 23 to 45. Ross, I'm going to ask you this because
well, one thing before you do, Royal Dong has helped us out in the chat.
Yeah. Royal Dong.
Yeah, the Shikhar Dhawan ad is where cricketers come to common people and they say, "Let me do your work. You go and make your Dream 11." So I'll do your chores. You can set up your fantasy team. That's
a very good advert. I like that. Got a lot of time for that. That makes a lot more sense than whatever I was trying to put together. Balls 23 to 25. Is Ishan Kishan good enough to be in the Indian T20 lineup? He just seems too inconsistent, Ross.
I think he is definitely younger. In this, we talked about Gaikwad earlier in the show, but Kishan is younger, and I think it's difficult for him. I think that Kishan should be the one with the gloves. I don't think Quinton de Kock should be the guy with the gloves in this Mumbai Indians team. I think they should build like a core around certain players, and Kishan would be one of them. But maybe he's just a little bit out of form at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of wonder as well whether there's a bit of second season syndrome. I know it's not his second season in the IPL, but it's probably his fourth now, maybe his fifth. But he was so good last year that probably, I would expect that basically every analyst at the other 7 franchises has been developing an Ishan Kishan plan. And they may have been talking to each other, they may be a bit groupthink going on. And I do wonder a little bit whether they've come up collectively with a plan that works quite well for dealing with Ishan Kishan, because he has struggled. Let's just be honest. Was he averaging like 12 or something like that? And not at a good strike rate. It's not even 12 off 3 balls. It's been a little bit painful. I mean, he's very talented. I'm sure he will strike back. I think he'll strike back. But yeah. Should we very quickly do our predictions for tomorrow's game and then wrap this show up?
Sounds good.
Yep. Okay, so tomorrow, Kolkata Knight Riders take on Royal Challengers Bangalore. I don't really have any analysis to offer on this, but I do think Royal Challengers Bangalore might win this one. Does anyone want to go into that in a little bit more detail, or got a contrary opinion?
Well, the win predictor on Google has Royal Challengers at 57% and Knight Riders at 43%.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're giving Knight Riders at least 20% vig on that one. It's
I'm not holding out any hope for old Tim Southey's Knight Riders. Not a chance.
Oh, they're in disarray. Dan, you. I mean, obviously, as the big RCB fan, you expect them to win.
Obviously, we're going to get that extra boost to the players, knowing that they're playing for Virat in the last few matches as well this tournament. And anyone who heard my thoughts on KKR in the pre-season preview will know that I don't fancy their chances of getting many wins in the second half of the comp. So, as Jack says, I think they're pretty comprehensively in favour of RCB in advance of the match.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see which team that RCB play, because they've made a few changes.
Me too.
Yeah, so I think that will be quite interesting. But I'd expect sort of whoever they play to
To be
win.
fair, because there are changes in that bit. Sometimes teams take a little bit to gel, right? New players coming in disrupts the balance of the team. Actually, it might take them 1 or 2 games to get back up and running, and this could be a good opportunity for KKR to steal a win.
Well, they say that for Mumbai, don't they? There's a bunch of people saying to me that I should watch the entire IPL in Hindi or at least tomorrow's game. That's not going to happen. I'm afraid. I'm going to end that speculation now. I'm looking forward to.
I think it's a good way to pick up a new language, Jack, for you. Just like a lot of Scandinavian.
You've already heard. The only thing I remember is MS Dhoni attacking captaincy. Like it's not. Right, we've done.
All we've got in the chat as well is Tejas asking me to insult Dhoni, which I would never ever call Dhoni a Gandu. Like I just wouldn't call Dhoni. Dhoni.
Right, this is over. Thanks very much for watching. I think we might do a show tomorrow. We haven't really planned our IPL schedule. We might be back tomorrow. We might not. We probably need to talk about the whole Pakistan-New Zealand situation at some point as well. We're not going to do it now. This show is over. Road to 10k subs, 341 people watching right now. Hit subscribe, save us. Don't save us. Help us. Help us. Please help us. We'll be back later. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening. Oh, before we go, Dan, what's your Substack? Let people know. Because
danweston.substack.com. I've written loads of stuff about the IPL recently, so if you're listening, check that out. You can follow me on Twitter @SAAdvantage.
Yeah, do all that. See you later.